Ready? Check, check, check,
Check. And
check,
let me starting
check,
video on my phone. Don't forget to record on your
check.
phone.
I'm already recording.
Perfect. Hey, I mean, anything with Shia LaBeouf in it, like, gets a pass from me.
Rami Malek would have to carry Denzel Washington to the top of the mountain to break the curse of his dirty, filthy, pig-stealing great-great-great-grandpa. Hold on, I'm calling Mike Myers right now to pitch this idea.
All right, from the top.
Playhouse Reviews.
Mic check. Check.
Boone in the shot. Boone in the shot. So, James, did you watch anything this week?
Nope.
Perfect. I'm glad you're prepared. So, this week I didn't actually watch too much either, but I rewatched Tenet, my second viewing of it. I had to get that Christopher Nolan theater experience and saw it at the drive-in movie.
Oh, I'm sure
Back.
the in-car audio and surround sound was great for that one, especially for the opening scene when they're explaining key plot points over a loud action scene very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so on my second viewing, we definitely had subtitles turned on. And actually, I enjoyed the second viewing a lot more just because you do notice all those little subtle things, like Robert Pattinson. The first viewing, he's just speaking in riddles the whole movie. He's just like, "What are these riddles this handsome man keeps saying?" And now it makes sense.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter what he's saying; you're just so distracted by his looks. But
exactly,
on the second viewing, you can actually pay attention and see past his handsome.
I know. In my eyes, he's always just sparkling in everything he's in, especially the lighthouse.
the dream sailor husband in that one.
And then the other main thing I want to mention was a nice K-drama called True Beauty. It just wrapped up, and I liked it. It's pretty funny, but the girl's like really dumb, and she picks the wrong boy at the end, so that was kind of disappointing. But it's a good show if you like K-dramas. I think it's one of the better ones.
Is it better than Itaewon Class?
No, well, Itaewon Class is going to be like one of my favorite shows for a while. So
yeah, that one was really good. I wasn't even that big of a fan of K-dramas. I mean, I love Korean like gangster movies and Korean horror, but the K-drama TV shows weren't that great. But Itaewon Class, oh my god, that was amazingly good. I was so surprised.
Well, that's the one that kind of got me back into K-dramas because I used to watch a lot of K-dramas like back when I was really into K-pop, but I kind of got bored of them because they're all kind of the same-ish. But then this one got me back into it, and now I've watched a bunch since we're in quarantine.
Yeah, well, that one, the characters are so well thought out, and every single person has very clear motivations and is very distinct. Like I feel like the only other show I've seen recently or movie really where the characters are so like well thought out is like Dark. I mean, obviously Dark has completely different time travel elements and stuff to it, but like this one, they all are like their motivations are just so clear. And
like everything just
refreshing.
Like the way the characters act just like makes sense, and you can tell it's like very character driven. Not like these Hollywood movies where things just happen because the plot needs things to happen.
Yeah, well, and it's a classic underdog story. So you're automatically you're rooting for the main guy the whole time.
I know.
It doesn't fall into this. There is like love and romance to it, but that's not like the core of the movie. It's kind of like him trying to take on big business.
All I know is when COVID is over and hair salons open up, I'm getting the same haircut as him because it just looks so good.
Yeah, all I know is that when COVID's over, I'm selling all my belongings, liquidating them, and opening a Korean pub in California.
I know, he made it look so easy. It only took like 15 years for him to break even.
Yeah, working like 7 days a week, 15 hours a day.
No time for girls.
Nope. Who needs girls when you got a big business to take on and run? All right. So what are we going to talk about first this week?
Okay, I just want to talk about the new Borat movie. What's it called? Borat subsequent movie film.
I thought it was a lot longer. It's like subsequent movie film operation.
Delivery of the prodigious bride to the American regime to make a benefit once. Regime for make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan.
Here, let's do that again. I'll cut and then you read the entire name from start to finish.
Okay, from the top. So the first movie we're going to be reviewing is Borat subsequent movie film, Delivery of prestigious bride to American regime for make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan.
Perfect. That's the one. That's the take.
Man, that sounds like how we talk in our Mountain Dew videos where we just try to sound dumb.
I like how they change like throughout the movie where the plot changes. Like when the girl eats the monkey, they change the name, or when they decide to deliver the daughter to Rudy Giuliani instead, they have like the whole movie title change again.
Yeah.
The editing was very good in that movie.
Definitely.
I can relate because I edit this great YouTube podcast.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, top tier. So a brief summary of this is that Borat is back in Kazakhstan, and he's hated because all the bad publicity he gave from the first movie. So their dictator leader sends him back to America to give their famous porn star monkey a gift.
Johnny the Monkey.
Yeah, Johnny the Monkey as a gift to President Trump, or I guess Michael Pence. And then the monkey gets eaten, so he decides to give his daughter to him again because Republicans love underage girls.
Yeah, even now with all the Epstein and Weinstein stuff that happened, very very topical, relevant stuff. This Borat 2 was definitely more political than the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same character. The first Borat was definitely still political in a sense. I feel like he kind of represented like the fear at the time of like foreign nations, because I think that was like closer to post 9/11 stuff.
Yeah.
So it was a lot more subtle. I feel like the focus of this first Borat was much more on all the jokes and kind of like the shock humor and just kind of like a little bit more potty humor. I mean, there's still elements that in Borat too, but this one feels like it's a much stronger social commentary and political commentary than the previous ones. But I think narratively, it actually worked a little bit better than the first one to me. But what did you think?
Okay, well, before we get into that, let's go into just general likes and dislikes, and then we'll get into the political
nitty-gritty
stuff.
themes.
Yeah.
Or the little things.
Oh,
foreshadowing. The little
so what were your general likes and dislikes?
I like Johnny the Monkey. He was great. Anything with monkeys is good. I was very sad though that he got eaten so early on in the movie.
Yeah, but, I was really confused because I wasn't sure if he ate himself or he was eaten by the girl for a long time, and it was kind of distracting.
Well, they called back to it. I don't think. That was a tricky plot point for sure.
I'm usually pretty good at picking up on the subtle things, but that one was a tough one.
Yeah, the Johnny the Monkey was good, and I was actually surprised at how good the daughter actress was. I thought that was going to be kind of like obnoxious humor.
Yeah, she did a really good job. I was surprised too.
Yeah, well, I think at first she was just kind of like the concept of her like finding her was funny. It's like, oh, she's like the 15-year-old daughter, and she's like kept in like a little shack in the backyard, and he's like, oh, I didn't know you existed. And then she's just like screaming and going crazy and stuff. So it was a little bit like loud.
She wants to go in a cage.
Yeah, I know. But then they ended up developing like the whole dynamic, and her like thinking for herself and kind of overcoming her ignorance of everything is good, and the jokes she did are actually pretty funny, so I was enjoying her pranks as well. And Borat looks old. Oh my god, he looks old.
Well, the other movie came out like early 2000s. What was it? I don't remember the exact year.
I feel like it was like 2007, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, 2006.
1 year off.
But so overall, I really liked this movie. I felt like the first half was kind of like the same as the first movie, where he's kind of just doing these ridiculous over the top pranks and like trying to get people to like say bigoted things. And then the second half was kind of when it came together with like more of the plot and trying to like the more of the political commentary type stuff on like how dumb Americans are.
Yeah, but even like the narrative worked better, I think. Like in the first one, it did start the same as the first one, but in this one, like him and his daughter have a falling out, which is kind of the same as the first one. But I feel like it comes together, and then he ends up like redeeming himself in a little bit better of a way.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it came together thematically and plot-wise a little bit better than the first. But what was your favorite prank? Like your favorite gag in this one?
So I mean, I gotta say the best part was when he sings his song at the I think it was a gun, like a pro gun festival in Olympia, which is funny because I was just at Olympia recently.
It could have just been a normal like Trump rally. I know they had like anti-mask things and stuff too at some of them.
Yeah,
and a lot of the times they do just have guns at those things.
Well, no, I looked it up, and the event was like titled like pro-American rights, but it was primarily about gun rights.
I see.
But then he kind of just and I guess a little bit of the anti-mask type stuff. But then when he goes on stage, he really encourages that. Like I was laughing so hard when it was like inject them with the Wuhan flu or chop them up like the Saudis do, and like the crowd got so wild up.
I know. Some of that stuff, it's like I mean, I always assume some of it's staged or planned a little bit, but with that one, just everyone getting all riled up and into it, I was like, oh wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, one thing I really was curious about is like, I wonder how long he stayed with those two redneck guys. Like, I thought that was so funny. I could just watch a reality show of just that part.
Yeah, well, that one I wasn't sure about how. I feel like they had to have known at some point, especially if they were actually living together for however long.
I'm not sure for that skit exactly, but for a lot of the skits, they said they were just filming a documentary. So they could have been told them like they're doing a documentary about COVID or something. So I don't know exactly, but yeah, I really wanted to know like how long he stayed with them and how much those two guys knew.
Yeah, I think they had to know something was up, but probably just didn't care. I think they're being paid, but the one I do know more about was like the daughter ball that they did. So that one, they actually set up like Borat and Sacha Baron Cohen and the crew. They set up that whole thing and just invited everyone to come. So like no one had to pay to go. So they planned it and organized all of it. And then we're filming it.
Oh,
so,
I just want to say
what the people thought,
but about that scene too, when like he asked that old man like how much he thinks his daughter's worth, and he said like $500, and then the other guy's daughter was like, "You're fucking disgusting."
Yeah. Yeah, that one was really good. I think for me, the two, which kind of like was a little bit disappointing, the two pranks that really didn't work that well for me was when I went to the actual like Mike Pence rally and like dressed up as Trump carrying the daughter. Like the idea of it is pretty absurd, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's probably just harder than he thought. I mean, I guess I would have kept it in the movie, but
yeah, well, I feel like
it
it's
didn't
one
really
of those
land as much. It just felt like kind of like he's just doing crazy stuff to do crazy stuff for it.
Well, I feel like it was one of those things where like he's obviously not going to know how it turns out, but like he clearly spent a lot of effort like trying to do that. So you can't like not use the footage because he probably spent a lot of time and it didn't turn out as he expected it.
Yeah. But it's still the idea of it's hilarious, just running around dressed up as Trump, and the mask was terrifying. That was the best part. Was that Trump mask? It was so creepy.
I did some research on that one. So he said they had to sneak in, and then they were in like the handicap stall for 5 hours with like a makeup crew doing his makeup, and it was just like a team of them in the bathroom, and they were just like people like kept coming in, and he was like listening to their conversations of like men in the bathroom while they were doing his makeup.
That's so good. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, but I mean, the Trump costume was great. So I mean, I think it was worth keeping in just to see that.
I know. It was just more of him wearing the mask. It was so disturbing.
And then I really liked I didn't really like the last prank at the end when he was like interviewing Rudy Giuliani. I mean, I'm all for like making fun and taking stabs at Rudy Giuliani because that guy sucks.
Yeah, people named Rudy are just annoying in general.
Yeah, Rudy. But yeah, that one I feel like I don't know, it wasn't that funny, and it was I don't know. It made sense for the plot though, narrative. Like with
I don't know, like
it just felt a little weird.
Yeah, it was weird, but then I just thought it was so funny when Borat came out in like his lingerie.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was a good payoff. Yeah.
And it was funny just watching Rudy Giuliani react. He's such like a no nonsense guy. Well, not no nonsense because half the stuff he talks about is just ridiculous and
well, he doesn't think it's nonsense.
Yeah, but he doesn't think it's nonsense. So that's what's so good about it. But I feel like I mean, the whole movie is basically just commentary on like the state of Americans and not knowing what's true, like kind of playing into the conspiracy theories or the fake news propaganda that people have a hard time deciphering because of the lack of media literacy now in America. So
yeah, I know it's like I really like wanted to like the two redneck guys because they just seem like nice guys at first because they like let him stay with him and they're like taking care of him. But then when they start talking about it, he's like, yeah, it's unfortunate that liberals have the same rights as us. Like that's just so stupid. And like and then you're like, man, like I really wanted to like these guys, but they are just like bigots.
Yeah, and then they do some of the like Borat. His character is like an extreme version of all of them in a sense. He's like worth like the treatment of everything. So like compared to him, they seem a little better. Like even the two like QAnon dudes, they kind of educate Borat in a sense. Even because like he's like talking about keeping women in cages, I think, and then like, and then he's like, oh, we can't, like women they can think for themselves, and Borat's like, what? Oh, and he's so surprised. But yeah.
And he kept calling them like the two greatest scientists in the U.S.
Yeah, I did like those guys, even though they were pretty out there. And
yeah, it's like one of those things where like if we like lived in a world where there like weren't like this divisive politics, you feel like you could get along with them. But then when you like get to that deeper level, you're like, oh, they are like probably extremely racist. They probably like do want to like go out and shoot people.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't know. I mean, they might not be that extreme, but they could be. It's just all the fear. I guess this the state of America now. It's just they make everything the extreme version.
Yeah, exactly.
The news makes you think this, or the divisive rhetoric that politicians and the news use. It just makes people extra on edge and paranoid and worried about their rights kind of unnecessarily. I think that's kind of the point, is that America's in a bad state now.
Well, another thing, it might have just been how they edited it too, but when Borat was on stage, like singing his song, and then he was like, I want to give a shout out to my two best friends. And then like the one without the beard, like smiled like so big. And I was like, that was so funny.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like I think they could just be like trolling too. Like they're just like silly trolls. Not that I'm defending any of their terrible beliefs or like chewing on it all, but they could have just thought it was funny. I mean, maybe they did know what was going on to an extent. And like, let's see what we can get away. Let's see what we can have this crazy guy do.
And it is a movie too, so they're gonna edit it in such a way where they only pick like the most extreme things. Like I'm not like defending these guys, but it just makes me think like if the world was like in a better place, like we wouldn't have like these problems.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's a little bit more in your face in this one than the first Borat, because things were bad, especially with COVID really taking everything to the extreme for the state of America. It's like everyone's extra on edge, extra angry. We're even more divided than we were when the first movie came out. So I think Sacha Baron Cohen released like a thing talking about how he needed to take a political stance. And then at the end, he even has like, oh, go out and vote, which was kind of the intent. So he made it more political than the first.
Definitely.
But that didn't distract from the jokes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's the main reason why I watched his
movies. Definitely. Another one I loved was when they go to like the abortion. I guess it's not really an anti-abortion clinic. I don't even know what that place was, but they're talking about the baby, and the guy just kept saying how like you have to keep the baby, and they're like, oh, but my dad put it in me.
Yeah, that part worked so well because it was just so dope. They ate a plastic baby, so like the double meanings of everything. It was like the perfect like viewer irony of us knowing what actually happened. That was hilarious. That was so good. And then I like how she kept it too. That little baby. I was like,
I know it was an important plot point.
She drew on it, and then he finds it later and kept it. And it's so gross.
And that's what made him change his mind to like go save her at the end. She dressed it up as Borat.
I mean, this one didn't have as much as like poop and like potty humor as like Bruno or the first Borat did. But got it, the poop. I would hoped by now at my age I would have thought poop humor was a little less funny. But I feel like the older I get, it's like a fine wine. Those poop jokes just get more and more hilarious. The older I get.
This one had a really good period joke.
Yeah, it's good. But still, I think my favorite Borat prank from on any of the Borat content I've watched was in the first one when he's at like the fancy like dinner etiquette lessons for like how to eat properly, and he's like, oh, I have to go use the toilet, so he goes up there, then he comes back downstairs and he just has this poop in the bag, and everyone's like trying to teach him how to use a toilet because they actually think this guy's so disconnected that he has a poop in a bag. Like, it's so ridiculous.
I know, how do you even think of things like that?
Yeah. But at that time, I think now, because I mean, he had the outfit, people are a little bit more keen to like prank humor and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone's usually older, and he does tend to find people who are more susceptible to those believing those types of pranks.
Yeah, it's like smaller towns and stuff.
Which even makes the Republicans and stuff he does target, like at that one pro-gun rally, it makes them easy targets because the ones who are the kind of extremists out there who believe the conspiracy theories, who are a little bit more susceptible to distrusting things and taking people they meet in their actual experience, believing them at face value, not being Which is kind of weird, actually. That's a little contradictory because they believe all the crazy conspiracy theories, yet they're willing to trust Borat, who actually is pranking them with like the ultimate conspiracy theory, like of a schizophrenic. Oh, this guy's just making a movie to make fun of me. He's not actually like that. But
well, I do remember in the first movie, a bunch of people were mad because they thought the movie like painted them in a negative light. But
I think that was those frat bros when he was like, because I mean, those were the ones who were really mad because they were saying some pretty bad stuff when he was in the motorhome with them. But yeah, I think he was trying to kind of do that again with some of the characters, but I feel like exploiting them and getting them to say bad things. But I think the frat bros are definitely the worst.
One little thing too, I was really happy at the beginning of the movie that they like acknowledged that people recognized him, and it worked so well in the context because like he's supposed to be like a reporter from Kazakhstan. So like I'm just glad that they acknowledged that like he's famous now, and that's why like he had to dress as an American for so many of the places he had to go to.
Yeah, did a really good job of the callbacks and kind of tying in the little plot points. Like even like the dumb thing was like, oh, what happened to his old buddy from the first one? And then he's like, you're sitting on him, and then he's made him into a chair.
Yeah.
And it has his little pee-pee on the chair. It's like taxidermy. Yeah, that's another big important part. There was no male nudity besides that one little taxidermy wiener at the beginning.
No, and then the president or whatever accidentally sends him a dick pic on the fax machine.
Oh, you're right. Oh, like that fax scene was so funny because it was just so long. It's like, the guy there, like even if he did think they were filming something else, I just like to write all those out and fax them and then wait for the fax to come in. It was just so long. I bet you that was like over an hour of them doing that. I know. And then even like the little callbacks, like at the very opening scene where he has like the not jokes that he learned in the first one. He's like, oh, my career is very successful or something.
Yeah.
They're really stupid, but I didn't really laugh. But it's like, you got to have the not jokes because they're just so bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's like one of the memes. Everyone was saying that after the movie came out.
Yeah, it's just gonna be. I feel like for Borat 2, like I feel like the first one is just such a special place in our hearts because like when it came out, there was no like prank movies really like that.
Yeah, like the closest thing was like Jackass, but that wasn't so much pranks back then. It was just kind of them hurting themselves and people watching. Like they did a little bit of pranks, I feel, but it was that's like the closest thing I could think of at the time.
Yeah, I mean, and then the shock humor too was not nearly as common,
especially like on like the big screen because I had like a big theatrical release and like no one's ever gone to like a movie theater and seen something like that.
Yeah, it's in just full frontal male nudity running around and all the poop stuff. And like I was like what? That's probably in like 6th or 7th grade or something when I saw that in theater. Like, oh, this is the best thing ever. It was so hilarious. But this was still good. I think if you watched it from the lens of like not comparing it to the first one, you'd be like, this is a pretty hilarious prank movie for sure.
No, I agree. I feel like it really worked. I thought it was funny like 99% of the time.
Yeah, which is always I'm always skeptical of the jokes to see, oh, will it be funny? I'm always like, I don't know. But the second time I actually enjoyed it a lot more than watching it the first time. The first time watching Borat 2, I was just constantly comparing it to the first one. But then the second time I went through it, I was like, oh, this actually works very well on its own. Like there's some callbacks to the first movie, but you don't need to know it necessarily.
Yeah, definitely. And they kind of just sum it up in like the first 15 minutes and that's all you need to know.
And what do you think of the ending of the movie too?
Like the ending as in their Kazakhstan was trying to spread the Wuhan around the world.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was funny too. I just thought it was like so edited so well because it was like the end of like a spy movie where there's like a big reveal from the villain at the end, but it's just like so stupid.
But I felt like that kind of worked with the overall theme of the movie because I feel like Borat as an idea, he really just represents like ignorance and like the dark side of what can happen if you just are ignorant to like believing all these bad ideas and false beliefs. Like he even has that like book that teaches the daughter to be like oppressed. It's like ignorance leads to these terrible bigoted thoughts and oppression. So then it's like it's very. I took it as a commentary on. It's like in America, they're all blaming Wuhan for the virus. They're all blaming China for COVID-19 happening. But in actuality, is really just Borat. So if you take it as in a sense that, oh, it's Borat who represents the ignorance of America. The ignorance of America is what made the COVID-19 pandemic so terrible, at least in
Mhm.
America. So it's really, he's probably more at fault than wherever the virus originated from, which is
Mhm.
contradictory to what our ex-president was saying about everything. But I thought it was a small little touch that I felt like
Yeah.
was good. It worked with the themes and was very topical too.
And they showed a picture of him with Tom Hanks, and I remember like he was like one of the first celebrities that got it, and like Reddit was really sad because they loved Tom Hanks so much, and I just thought that was really funny. And
Oh, that was
I
super
wondered
good.
if he
Yeah.
really did meet Tom Hanks or if it was just like photoshopped or something. But I thought that was a good reference right there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Tom Hanks. I think he's probably on the more liberal side of politics. So I could see him being a cool, silly guy and hanging out with Sacha Baron Cohen. I could see them being friends.
Yeah, but he was like in costume. I guess he would know though, because everyone knows Borat. Just kidding. He wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kidding. Bad point. Yeah.
Maybe I'll cut it out. Maybe.
So there are a couple other just kind of like behind the scenes things I wanted to mention. So when he was singing his song at like the rally, the organizers did want to like pull the plug on him, but he had like his personal security team that was kind of just like blocking people from pulling him off the stage or unplugging the speakers. So at least the organizers were like aware enough that this was gonna not reflect their organization well.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean, though. So then it's like kind of leading. It's like, oh, you like the movie makes you think that everyone's so on board with hating, but really they didn't cut him off because they couldn't.
Yeah. And then another one, the lady who was like babysitting the daughter. So she was told that that they were filming a documentary about like a dad trying to like groom his daughter to date older men, and like she didn't know that until like the day before the movie came out. So she was pretty upset by that. And then like on social media, she said that like she lost her job due to COVID, and then started a GoFundMe and got like a few $100,000, and then Sacha Baron Cohen also donated like a bunch of money to her like church and stuff. So some good
that's
came
good.
from it.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, the people who actually were good and weren't just like giving in to like the Borat stuff and agreeing and egging him on, they should be rewarded for being pranked, for being good sports about it all.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she was the only one, I think. I mean,
that's kind of the dark side of all the humor. So like it's very funny, but when you
yeah,
really
like
look
how
at some of this stuff, you're like, oh, geez, these are
yeah, like
bad
how
views that a lot of people hold. It's
yeah,
not good at all.
like it was so easy for him to just like get people to like openly like say how they want to sleep with like his 15-year-old daughter.
Yeah, it's not good at all. But yeah, seriously, and that one, this movie definitely handled. That was another focus or a difference compared to the first one. Again, was that it definitely focused on more of the misogynistic elements of the culture and stuff.
Mhm.
And I mean, like, with his daughter coming on board into the movie too. I think it did all that very well, though, and that's kind of like his turning point. It's like, oh, you can't just treat women like this. Women should actually think for themselves and do think for themselves. Like, so
Mhm.
that was his transformation. Of course, he has a long way to go till he's a completely woke Borat. But what are you gonna do? Progress. Maybe by Borat 10, he'll be less terrible. Yeah.
So one last thing, the director was Jason Wolner, and he didn't do Borat 1, I don't think. He's as far as directing goes, he did like a lot of TV shows. A lot of them I haven't seen because I don't watch a ton of TV, but he did do a few episodes of Nathan for You, which is like the greatest show of all time.
Yes.
And he did some of the episodes of What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show, which I also didn't watch, but
that one's worth watching. I was very hesitant to watch it because I was like, oh, it's
Mhm.
just kind of going to be a worse version of the What We Do in the Shadows movie.
Mhm.
The show is very funny. It's different, but the actors they picked to play the new vampire guys are very hilarious.
Okay.
And they have and the guy who plays the assistant, I forget his name, but
Mhm.
he's really funny in it too, and he's like one of the main characters. So
Yeah, but I
would
think this is
recommend it.
this is the director's first feature-length movie that he's directed.
Oh, good job.
I always like
Great
to point that out.
Great job. Yeah, when it's the first movie that a director made, it's always I always
Mhm.
appreciate it more because it's like,
Mhm.
oh wow, knocked it out of the park the first time. Great job.
Yeah, definitely. And I like to think that directors like get better as they do more, unless they're like making Transformers. Yeah, or making
or
Transformers movies.
Yeah, well, there's two routes they can go. They can either go like the Nicholas Winding Refn route, where he kind of starts off making really low budget crime movies that just get more and more technical and like polished, or they could go the route of like, I don't know, Christopher Nolan, who like makes Memento, super awesome heady movie that's done well. And then, I mean, his movies are still good now, and they're definitely on a bigger, grander scale, but I feel like they kind of are all over the place.
I mean, I liked Inception a lot.
Inception was good. Man, it's a bad example.
Well, I was thinking more like Zack Snyder or Michael Bay, but
yeah, Michael Bay. Well, I don't know. Pain and Gain, that was a real winner. Pain and Gain was a great. Yeah, I remember when I. Yeah. Anyway, I'll digress. We'll do a different episode on Michael Bay.
I mean, we could go hours if we go through Michael Bay movies and the evolution of Michael Bay, going from some scrub making terrible movies like Armageddon to masterpieces like Transformers Age of Empire or Age of Extinction or whatever it is.
Hey, I mean, anything with Shia LaBeouf in it, like, it's a pass for me. No Holes. Imagine if Michael Bay directed Holes or did a remake of it. That would be awesome. But like,
dude, I could just imagine like the yellow spotted lizards like flying around, fighting them and stuff. And
imagine it being kind of like Tremors, but with robots somehow.
And then like
Shia LaBeouf and robots and digging holes and lizards
and onions.
They'd
be like
the sploosh.
It'd be like climbing that mountain, and then there's like airplanes crashing in the background, and they're like, we gotta get the onions, and then there's fucking robots shooting missiles.
Then the sploosh is what kills the yellow spotted lizards. That's their like kryptonite. It's the jarred sploosh. Just jarred onions.
Okay, no, this is the premise. The yellow spotted lizards are taking over, so they have to climb to the top of the mountain to get the onions so they can summon Shrek to fight the lizards.
They have to find the hidden swamp in the desert, at the swamp oasis.
They're digging holes to find the swamps.
Shrek's hoarding the sploosh treasures.
Hold on, I'm calling Mike Myers right now to pitch this idea.
Oh, dude, that would be amazing. I think Michael Bay would sign up for it. There's such a great meme culture around Shrek. He could easily capitalize on that and just go that route, get away from his big scale action Hollywood to like kind of the niche comedy action market.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing like the giant gingerbread man fight Megatron. I think that'd be pretty cool.
That would be really good. Like a gumdrop cannon or something.
Yeah.
I like this idea. We gotta start writing notes. Post this on the Shrek Reddit lore fan page. Get this finalized and published for all you stealers out there of these ideas. These are copyrighted Playhouse production ideas.
Okay, so is there anything else you want to say about Borat before we move on to our next movie?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
but would you recommend it? Would you recommend Borat 2? Actually, wait, I do have one more thing. How do you think this compares to like the newer, or not newer, but how do you think it compares to Bad Trip, the Eric Andre movie? Another great prank movie.
Yeah, so I think overall I probably enjoyed the Eric Andre one more. I just liked that one because the story is like intertwined with the pranks, where it's not so much like prank story. Borat 2 definitely did this better than Borat 1, but Eric Andre's movie, I just felt like it was so like wholesome for a prank movie. Like everyone who was being pranked was like so nice. Like they're all just trying to help Eric Andre.
Yeah. Which is very different than Borat, because I feel like Borat, he's trying to elicit the worst parts of people.
Yeah.
Where Eric Andre, he's doing crazy things, but he's trying to get like a better reaction out of them.
Yeah, but
oh, go ahead.
Like when Eric Andre's like hanging off of like the roof and like everyone's just trying to help him, or when he gets like in the car accident and that guy's like trying so hard for him not to like get in a fight and things like that.
Yeah. And then I also really like, because like how you're talking about how the pranks are intertwined with the story a little bit better in Bad Trip. I feel like I just loved how they were like filming entire scenes like normally, Like,
Mhm.
but they're like, it was like they're doing like a musical like song in the mall and had
Yeah.
dancers, but they're just normal people walking around. They're
Yeah.
like, what? Or like they're like doing dialogue. There's just people in the background, like what? Like reacting normally. That
Well,
was
yeah, because
so good.
I thought it was funny because it was like a movie, but no one was like acting. Like
Yeah,
when
no
he
one knew it was a
first,
movie.
yeah, exactly. Like the opening scene when he sees like the girl he knew in high school or whatever, and then like it's playing like a rom-com movie, but then there's just like this regular guy there. And
Yeah.
like when they're filming it, there's like no music or editing, so it's just like makes it 10 times more awkward.
Yeah, it was so funny. Well, Eric Andre, he's like a whole nother brand of crazy humor.
Yeah.
He's so out
Yeah.
there, but it was great.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So would you recommend Borat 2?
Yeah, I'd definitely recommend it. It's probably one of the best comedies I've seen in a while.
Better than American Pickle?
I definitely liked it when American Pickle.
Yeah, this one I feel like they both were somewhat social commentaries on America, but
Hmm.
Borat 2 was much more theme heavy and topical, I think.
Well, I mean, it's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to come by good comedies nowadays.
Yeah, I
Probably
feel
not
like it's
making as
a
many.
yeah. Well, that's what I always say. Like, I want Seth Rogen to make more movies because stoner comedies. I don't even smoke, but stoner comedies are so funny.
Yeah, that's that type of humor, or even just like dumb teen comedies.
Yeah,
Like
like
even
the American Pie type ones.
yeah, or not even America, like Fired Up. That's a good one. So, or not another
Fired
teen movie.
Fired
Euro
Up was
Trip.
like a well, or Sex Drive.
Yeah, Sex Drive. The uncut version of Sex Drive was so good, so good. Yeah, but I just yeah, I mean now to get our fill of good teen comedies. I mean, we had to watch what was that? Kissing Booth. It's not even a comedy. It's just
Well,
teen schlock.
that's just so bad it's good.
Yeah, but
I would recommend we should do an episode on Kissing Booth because the first it's so bad. I love it. I
did you
love it.
watch Kissing Booth 2 yet?
No, I was saving it for movie night, but then we had to stop having movie night because of COVID. So I don't know how if it'd be funny or depressing watching it by myself.
We've got to make our girlfriends watch it with us.
Well, I also think they're making To All the Boys I Loved Before. I think they're on a third one of that.
That's a movie, right?
Yeah, I think they're making
Oh.
the second one already came. I think they're making a third one. So
Did you
that
watch
one,
any of those ones yet?
no, Elaine watched the first one without me, and she said it was like one of the worst things she's ever seen. So now I really want to watch it, but
Yeah, I definitely want to do the Kissing Booth ones. Those would be great.
we could do
Those
a
were
double
just
feature with Kissing Booth 1 and 2.
yeah. And then Freaky was pretty good teen comedy, but that's really a horror movie. So that's completely different. That's not just
Yeah.
straight comedy.
Well, that's what I always say. Like horror movies are the ones that like blend genres more than
Mhm.
any other genre. But
Yeah,
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 yeah.
exactly. And
But
I feel like
I
horror
just
could
want
be
straight up
comedy.
comedy. I just want another like Euro Trip or like Ashton Kutcher's just wasting all of his talent doing all this human rights stuff where he should just be making Dude, Where's My Car too.
Oh, dude, where's my car? That one's perfect. That one's so good. Yeah, some of them though, I'm not gonna lie. Like I went back and watched Sex Drive, and I made the mistake of only watching the regular version, not the uncut version. And you know what? It didn't hold up as well as I had remembered it. Not as good as Dude, Where's My Car? That one's still great, I think.
Yeah, that one still holds up. And I personally love Fired Up, even though I know it's not for everyone. That is gonna be like one of my favorite comedies.
Well, Fired Up, it just does the dialogue, quick humor so well. Like it's so
Yeah.
like witty and fast paced. Like there's so many jokes every time you watch it. They're just kind of
Mhm.
little clever comments, and it's dumb humor, but it's like still
Yeah.
clever dialogue, which I
Well,
appreciate.
I think it's so good because I like had never seen a comedy like it before, so and that's why it stands out. Just because it's so fast paced and like joke after joke after joke after joke, not like newer ones like Adam Sandler movies or like Kevin Hart movies where it's just like a person put in like a ridiculous situation and they're just like yelling. Like yelling is not
Yeah.
funny.
Oh well, the perfect example of comedy done wrong was that fist fight movie. Oh my
Oh,
god, that
don't
was
even
awful.
remind me.
And I love like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Charlie and all his other like not his other movies, but that he's really funny. But
Mhm.
like this was like just a train wreck of a comedy. It's just him running around yelling and just
Yeah.
I don't even know what they're going for with that.
Yeah. Like I used to hate Kevin Hart because it's just like him yelling, and that's like everything is him yelling. But then he did Jumanji, and now he's cool again. But
Yeah, Jumanji was really good. I was so surprised how good that
yeah,
was.
it really was. I went in with super low expectations, and I was pleasantly surprised. But then again, I love Jack Black. I love Jack
Yeah.
Black.
You know, a movie I want to rewatch that I remember when I watched it as a kid, it wasn't that great. Was that Envy one with Jack Black and Ben Stiller?
Oh,
Like,
two of the
that was such a
greats.
that was such a weird movie. I wonder if it's
Yeah,
even like holds up at all now. It's
yeah. I
always
don't know.
fun going
I don't
back.
remember it too much, except that he invented vape poo rise, where you spray the poop and it just disappears.
Yeah, well, it's like
That's all I remember.
It's just like Ben Stiller like was looking down on Jack Black, so he's like this dumb, goofy neighbor who just kind of like is out there and dumb, but he's actually a really nice guy. But Ben Stiller's kind of a jerk the whole time,
Yeah,
and of course Jack Black just gets a bunch of money and come. But it's like just Ben Stiller. It's kind of the same as American Pickle. It's like he's trying to sabotage Jack Black because he's jealous, but I don't know. Anyway, anything else you want to say about Borat?
No, I think we said everything. Got a little sidetracked there, but
Yeah, well, got the podcast goes where the podcast goes. We got a free flow combo. You never know where we're gonna end up. You start at Borat, you end on Envy with Jack Black and Ben Stiller. Yeah, go watch Borat 2. It's a good comedy. Got some good laughs. Got some good pranks. Check it out.
So on to our next movie. We're going to be talking about The Little Things, starring Denzel Washington.
Yes. So quick summary. This movie stars Denzel Washington and Rami Malek. Denzel plays Deacon, kind of a little Fed agent in Kern County who has to go into LA to find some boots because they're involved in a robbery, but the robbery suspect's also a murder suspect. So there he meets Mr. Robot, and who seems to have crazy eyes the whole movie, and they have to team up to catch a serial killer, who's played by Jared Leto.
The amazing Jared Leto.
The amazing Jared Leto. Leto or Leto?
AKA the Joker.
Yeah, I did get some similar joking vibes from him. He seemed to be playing games with the cops, which was probably one of the better elements of the movie. But what were your first impressions of The Little Things?
So I didn't really like it. The first half I enjoyed. It was kind of just like a typical cop movie, but then I felt like the second half just really dragged on and on and on and didn't really go anywhere. And I know that's kind of what they were going for, but just because like you don't want to have a satisfying ending doesn't mean you have to make the movie boring too.
Yeah, there wasn't really any action in it. I feel like they're trying to really play off the dynamics between like kind of the buddy cop dynamic between Denzel and Malek, and then also the kind of criminal cop dynamic between both of them and Jared Leto. But I feel like they didn't do it as well as they could have.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. I feel like if it was a TV show, it would have worked because they would have had more time to like flesh out these characters. But they tried to like make all three characters like very deep. And I just feel like there wasn't enough screen time on anyone for it to really pay off.
Yeah, I mean, I do think all of their performances were very good. I enjoyed the movie. I think it could have been better for sure. But I love all those kind of crime, mystery, and drama ones. And this one, at least, like kind of made you think. And like I had to go back and like I rewatched a couple scenes just to kind of help put all the pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it. But I think like True Detective season 3 was way better. Of course, different. But I even like 7 better. Or I don't know, Zodiac or Prisoners. There's a lot better kind of crime investigation movies out there that kind of do similar things to what this one was trying to accomplish.
So I kind of feel the opposite of you. I felt like this was a huge waste of talent. When you have Denzel Washington and Rami Malek, they're both like amazing actors and like they didn't play to their strengths at all. Like my first impression when this was over, I was like, wow, it's really sad when Jared Leto is like the most like charismatic actor in a movie.
Yeah, but I think that was probably part of the problem of I felt like they didn't flesh out the ideas and the themes quite well enough, because I think they're trying to draw parallels and kind of point out that the cops are like bad guys and killers. So they're trying to show them as being the problem in the movie, while trying to make Jared Leto be like, oh, you're not so sure if he's good or bad, but they just made him look a little too good or a little too nice in the movie. So I don't
It's
know.
not
They
even
didn't
that. I feel
handle
like
that.
he played the crazy guy well, but it just the pacing was all wrong. Like I feel like Rami Malek just like descended into madness like super quickly, and then Denzel Washington, like they tried to like play up his backstory, but then the reveal at the end, spoiler alert, where he accidentally killed the girl, like it just didn't pay off because you just like don't care.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think they didn't focus enough on any of them. I feel like Denzel, they're trying to really have him be the kind of driving character for his backstory and stuff. But they did his a little bit better than they did Malik's, because I feel like his whole dynamic of him getting, like you said, he seemed like he was really losing it pretty quickly. I mean, he seemed like a very intense, kind of crazy guy from the start, just because I think that's just how his face looks.
But that's another thing that was just dumb though. Like the first scene when you first see Rami Malek, he's like an asshole big shot detective, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to tow your car because you blocked me in. I'm an asshole." And then they just didn't do anything with that. Then he just like wanted to be friends with him the rest of the movie. Like it's just inconsistent, and just like some parts really dragged and some parts really rushed.
Yeah, I think the editing could have been more consistent there. And also, I feel like it didn't develop his background at all. Like Rami's background with his wife. Like his wife was kind of in it, but she didn't do anything. They're kind of hinting that he was unraveling, but the wife didn't have anything to do other than just being an observer of him kind of
Yeah.
losing control.
Yeah, like
And
they
then
didn't need to
that
even
felt
show
rushed.
that. Yeah, they could have just had him like mention he had kids because they didn't do anything with it. Like it was important to know that he had kids, but they didn't do anything with it. They just like show him to waste time. And when it's a movie where I feel like it was already like rushed, they don't need to waste time with things like that.
I don't know. I think the kids were very important though, because that's what, like, basically the reason why he kills Jared Leto at the end is because he's insulting the family or threatening them. So I don't think if he said something about his family and threatened him, I don't think he would have murdered him and hit him with the shovel. So I do think they had to put it in there, but I don't think they need to like show them
Yeah.
playing as much. But
Yeah, I think just like having him like look at like a photo of them or a phone call with his daughter saying how much he loved them would have been more impactful than like that pointless breakfast scene with Denzel Washington at his house. Just feels
well,
like filler content to me.
I don't know. I disagree on the breakfast scene though, because I think this movie, it works a lot better if you're only thinking of everything, like including Malik's character and Jared Leto's character, as like a projection of Denzel's like craziness or his faults from the previous case. Because the breakfast scene is very important, because it's kind of reinforcing the themes that he lost everything. It's like he made his mistake, it ruined his family, he doesn't see his wife anymore. And like the wife asking those questions really kind of like stings Denzel, because immediately after he goes to visit his ex-wife who has a house, and you can see he's just like about to like break down and cry in that scene, and he kicks the dirt and he's all mad because his wife's remarried, he doesn't see his daughters. And so I think that part was important, and that's how the movie works best. For, I mean, obviously, yeah, you're right, like from a normal, like from a plot perspective, yes, there's a lot of mistakes, and like they focus on the characters. Malik's very cliche, they brush all his stuff. But if you're thinking of him like reflecting on the past and kind of like history repeating itself, again, it's not done very well. But I think that's what they were going for. So that scene was important, but it just, the editing was rushed. Everything was a little kind of quick and a little too ambiguous and not to the movie's strength.
Well, that's the thing. Like I like looking at like themes and like the like symbolism in movies, but you have to care about the movie at a surface level before you care about the themes. And I didn't care at a surface level, so how am I going to care like that deeper level if I don't care about the first part?
Yeah, that's a very fair point. I think I was expecting a little bit more of a higher budget movie. And I don't know, there's just little things like, even like I just watched, what was it, Dragged Across Concrete, with Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn, who I aren't even really like my favorite actors even, but that movie, it got like the buddy cop dynamic so well. Like there's so many good scenes of like the same kind of premise, like of them sitting in a, like the first like hour of that movie is just them like sitting in a car doing stakeouts, and like the humor between them, the bonding is so
Yeah.
good. But this, I did not feel that at all. It was kind of like the teacher-student dynamic, but it didn't really work for me.
Well, I just felt, like I said, I felt like it was so rushed because, like, Rami Malek didn't like Denzel at first, but then all of a sudden he's like asking him to come look at the investigation. They're doing stakeouts together, but they never really developed the relationship at all. He just is like, oh, I decide I want to hang out with Denzel because he's like, I don't even know.
Well, I think, they again, that's another one of those like things that they didn't really do that well. It's like, I think he's supposed to be kind of a legend detective in the department for whatever reason, because he was really good, but then he messed up or something like that. But even then, they don't really establish that Denzel was that great of a detective. All they kind of established was his one mistake in the past that he never could let go. So,
and then from like a viewer perspective, Denzel Washington is a crazy person.
Yes, he is a crazy person.
but
yeah,
like in the characters in the movie don't see that, but from a viewer perspective, you do know that, and I feel like that kind of distracts from it also.
Yeah, I think it was trying to like. I mean, they're trying to draw parallels and show that Denzel and Malik are kind of the bad guys. Like, they're the only ones we know that are for sure killers in that movie. We don't even know if Jared Leto is, but we both know they've murdered people from what they show us in the movie. So yeah, I think coming to the realization of, oh wow, I'm the mistake. I'm the one who ruined this case. I ruined it again. Like Denzel ruined the old one, and then when Malik killed Jared Leto, by doing that, they have to now cover their own asses instead of actually figuring out and finding clues to who
But
did
I don't
it.
even.
They all dropped the ball.
But that's another thing too. You don't even know if that's how Denzel Washington feels, because when he does kill Jared Leto at the end, it doesn't seem to impact Denzel at all. He just is like, okay, he's just so calm about it, and like it didn't show like a scene like afterwards where he's upset. He just covered it up and went on with his life.
Yeah, but I think that's because he already went through the exact same process. I think they're like, he did that thing, it ruined his life. So like he lost his family. He's sad. That's why he's so obsessed with this case. He's trying to like redeem himself for selfish reasons. So, but to your point, that doesn't make him very likable, and it doesn't make him a good person.
Okay, so that was my big thing for first impressions of this. Like, this movie takes itself very seriously. It's like pretty dark themes, dark movie overall, but then there's some parts that are super silly, I felt, and mostly around Denzel Washington's character, where he just like starts talking to the dead girl, and I just thought like, oh, is he going to be a crazy person? But then again, they didn't go anywhere with it. It just was silly.
Yeah, I feel like they could have went into him being more crazy. I mean, I guess they kind of do at the end. I mean, the things he's doing are pretty fucking crazy. Like, he's staying in that seedy hotel, which is crazy. Even like Malik commentaries on that when he goes to see him. He's like, "What are you doing? Why do you have pictures of these girls?" And he's like drunk and rambling about like, I don't know, the history repeating itself, and it's the same case. And then he just immediately hops into cover-up mode to cover up the murder.
But I just felt like it was silly, though. I feel like they could have done it more tastefully. Like you said, at the hotel room, it's just silly that he has like pictures of all the dead girls on the wall at his room. It just, like, for a movie that takes itself so seriously, it's just like funny, I thought.
Yeah, it's like so cliche. Like, even Malik's whole character, he's just like the uptight, serious cop who is really egotistical and like bossing around people, like the people under him. Yeah, those things are kind of are very silly.
But like all the cliches are also very rushed. I felt like Rami Malek is supposed to be like this big shot detective who's in the media all that time. So they show him doing that one interview at the beginning. It's not mentioned for the rest of the movie until the very end, where Jared Leto's like, "Oh, I know your family because you were on TV," but like it has nothing to do with anything. It's just like pointless setup with pointless, like,
it's just
dialogue
showing
at
that
the end.
it's just showing that Malik's kind of like an egotistical guy, which is like very surface. Okay, yeah, he's kind of an ego guy, and it ends up biting him in the ass later, because that's why he kills Jared Leto and gets to that point, because he can't let it go, because he's so obsessed with the case and solving it, that he forces the case and he forces all the evidence, and he wants it to be Jared Leto so badly, but he doesn't actually know if it is or not.
Well, I feel like, though, it just needs to have like simple like 3-point thing where it's like the setup, the reminder, and then like the payoff. That's like basic screenwriting. So they needed like one more scene in the middle that has something to do with him being in the media.
Yeah, it's a little bit lazy because it's just playing into like our common knowledge of crime movies. So it's like, okay, he's the typical plot. All right, he fits that bucket. He's like doing the interview. He's the young big shot. Okay, that's his character. That's all. It's just like, there's no more you need to know, because it's kind of superficial. So yeah, it could have been better. My biggest problem though with the whole movie, I think, that is the title, because it's called The Little Things. And when Denzel first mentions that in the movie, it has a double meaning. The first meaning, though, is that, you got to look for the little tiny details, all the small things. It all matters, because that's when killers slip up. That's when they make the mistakes and get caught. And then later you learn that it has the second meaning, which is actually, it's the little things are like when you cover up or done something wrong. The little things are those little thoughts or secrets that you let surface back into your mind and haunt you for the rest of your life. So that's the second meaning. But the problem with that is because it's really more about the second one. So yeah, with the themes and the cover up, sure, it works for the movie.
And you don't know it's about that second one until the end of the movie.
Exactly, which is a kind of a good reveal, which makes sense. But the problem is when it's called The Little Things, it's like inviting viewers to pay attention to every little detail, all the little clues, these little things to try to figure out who the killer is. Like you're playing detective just by it being a detective movie. But obviously, what is the director's name? Is it John Lee Hancock? He's not a David Lynch, so it doesn't really matter in this movie what the little details are at all. Yeah. So you can watch it. It's like all the clues that might have, like Jared Leto's teeth they find. It's like, maybe that comes back into play because there's bite marks on him. Like they bring up biting so much, or he finds the knife with
so many times
with the bent tip, and it's like, there's all these little things that could be it. But then they don't find anything, and then they have to cover it up anyway. So they clear out and burn all the evidence and destroy it at the end because they have to cover their own butts.
But like you said, it depends.
Doesn't matter if you pay attention. Doesn't matter if you pay attention to the clues, though.
Depends on prior knowledge too, because like if someone who doesn't watch a lot of like crime movies, they're not going to know about like the tip of the knife and things like that. Like I just feel like it's just like you have to be a fan of the genre to be able to like get this movie on a very surface level.
Well, it doesn't even matter though. It doesn't even matter that they showed the knife at all, or even showed the teeth. It has nothing to do with them solving the case. It has nothing to do with like the criminal or linking them to evidence. It's just them kind of digging and looking for stuff. And it's like there's no. I mean, I get it's trying to not give you a payoff with this, but it's like it just feels like why? Like it seems like there was a version of the movie that had like kind of those things come together, but it's not explored. And then you're like, well, why even do it? Like if they're telling you to look for the little things and then you don't get to look for little things, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Like some of the stuff had to set up, like even like when he goes to the highway and it's like, what's the closest highway marker? And then after like the guy led him there, it's like, 647. It's like, okay, he knows something about the case. But then they mention, that it only went out over the police radio. And so then on the police radio, they show that Jared Leto has that in there. So he could have gotten that from them talking about the crimes. So then that works because it's contradictory. So then it adds to the ambiguity. But they don't do that with everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well then why even put it in there then?
Yeah, well that's like the thing with the teeth. They bring it up so many times. They bring it up with like the pizza. They bring it up with like he dumps out the cup and there's like a prosthetic tooth, and then doesn't have anything to do with anything. That doesn't even add to the ambiguity. Like that stuff I understand where they're like evidence, but it's like circumstantial evidence. But like the teeth thing was just pointless, and they brought it up so many times. They even had a whole scene where he brought the pizza to like the corner lady.
Yeah. And like I get that maybe they're trying to go for like, in real life, like you don't get that closure. But the movie's so cliche and superficial and plays into like it being a movie to do those things. Like it's very not grounded in a real like crime movie at all. So
so I have one scene that really bothered me I want to talk about. So like Denzel Washington wants to sneak into Jared Leto's apartment to look for evidence. So their plan is they have Rami Malek call him and say, I'm sorry about we were like police harassing you, meet me at this bar. Why didn't he just go to the fucking bar and talk to him? Like he just sat in the car, and then Denzel went in, and then Jared Leto got suspicious. Why didn't Rami just go to the bar and meet him there and just BS for 5 minutes? Like it didn't make like it was one of those. It was like the stupidest thing ever because like he's not actually watching him. They don't know. Like maybe he went through a back door or something and went into the apartment. Like he's not watching him, and then like he can't control the narrative. If Rami actually met with him, then they
it's stupid.
It was so stupid.
And
these guys are supposed to be like really good detectives.
Well, I think I mean, this probably is not the intent, but here's my theory. This is my Jamie theory interpretation of The Little Things. It's actually a comedy and a statement of police incompetence. So everything that Denzel and Malik do in the movie, it's not because they're good cops, it's because they're actually horrible cops. And like it's just making fun of how stupid cops are in this movie. Like everything they do is wrong. It's the wrong criminal probably. They handle every situation terribly. They play into Jared Leto, who's just some crazy person who's probably not the killer. They let him lead all of the situations. Like Malik literally follows them into the desert to like probably get murdered. Like they're not good cops. Like they don't do anything. They don't solve the cases.
Well, that's like another thing too, because like I feel like Rami Malek's like craziness just happened all too fast. Like a normal cop wouldn't follow him there, but it just feels like it happened overnight.
And he was so funny because he's just so like his eyes, he just like staring dead eyes. Like every scene he gets an opportunity, just like it's like what? He's like, oh, come here to my place, park your car here, go back to Kern County if you want special treatment. Yeah, he has big eyes. Yeah. It's like why? Yeah, he was cracking me up. But then Denzel, he's just so casually just covering up murder and doing things against the rules. It's like it's kind of comical. It's like what is it like? Was it Bad Lieutenant? With the old ones are just such a corrupt cop and stuff. It's like funny to a point.
Yeah. But
anyway, who do you think the killer is? Do you think Jared Leto is the killer or not?
I think he did. I mean, if it like assuming that this movie is like based in reality, I'm sure Jared Leto did it.
Yeah. I think he probably did it too, but actually I don't know if he did. This is my theory because so the reason why they first investigate Jared Leto or then they first introduce him is because the refrigerator needs to be repaired, right? So then they go to the repair shop and then that's where they show Jared Leto. So it's like, okay, that's how he's tied there. And like the apartment's written on that list. So Jared Leto has a connection to the apartment, but then it's like crossed out. So they know that they didn't send anyone there because they couldn't get there in time. But that means Jared Leto still had the address. So it's very likely, because it's very disorganized how that business is run, that Jared Leto went there anyway for whatever reason, that he could have just stumbled upon the body. And like he's definitely a weird, like perverted dude. So like I feel like he just found the body and then he's like, oh, and that would explain why there's that blood pool, then it was moved after and why he cleaned up the body. So he dragged it to that door so then he could watch from across the way and just go back and just keep looking at the body because he's a weird, lonely dude. So maybe he wasn't the killer, but he was definitely tied to it. And that's my take.
I don't know. I just felt like it was just so incredibly dumb. Like if he didn't do it though, why would he have like the newspaper clippings hidden in a secret compartment? Like if he didn't do it, I feel like it would just be like on the counter or something.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of the point. Like he probably did do it, but since the cops were so bad and handled it so poorly and weren't doing a good job, that now they'll never know because they were in the wrong and handled it badly. Like they should have just got the what's the FBI or the feds at the end who are cracking down to actually solve it. But yeah, I think what I was looking for that kind of level of detail and everything to come together and things to matter and be a very tightly written script, but it kind of felt all over the place and there's lots of ways it could have gone.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I just feel like with such big actors, I was expecting more. Like if this was just like a random Netflix movie that just had like some upcoming actors, I feel like it would have gauged my expectations better. But like I was expecting like a big solid monologue from Denzel Washington at the end or something, you know?
Well, I mean, Denzel, he was just so good in like Man on Fire. Like that movie is just awesome. And he's such a badass in it.
And I just love listening to him give speeches. Like I feel like he's so good at that. And then it just never happened.
Yeah, this is kind of a weird time for movies because it's like this felt like it should have been like a big theatrical kind of like blockbuster movie, go out in theaters. But it just got released straight to streaming. So I wonder if they're just if it was actually more of a like streaming or straight to DVD type movie, because that's what it felt like. It didn't feel like it was that high a budget. It didn't feel like a big like blockbuster. It just kind of felt like a very kind of indie script, wasn't as polished. So I don't know, but which is weird that those big star actors were in it.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, it was good, but no Vince Vaughn. I mean, if they had Vince Vaughn be the main detective, whoo, I can drag across concrete. That would have been great.
I mean, Denzel Washington and Vince Vaughn as a buddy cop movie.
How could you go wrong? How could you go wrong there? I mean, it's no like perfection like in Rush Hour with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan dynamic, but I mean, it's pretty close. Ooh, that would be an awesome movie. So what if like the same like serial killer, Jared Leto, we could have him be the bad guy, but it's Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker investigating instead of these two wannabe cops. I bet you they would have found the killer. They would have found it somehow.
Definitely would have been better.
Yeah, think of how much easier it would have been too. Like when Denzel was in the apartment looking for the stuff, but then the cops show up, so he has to climb out the window.
Jackie Chan can do it in 2 seconds.
Yeah, imagine Jackie Chan just doing flips out of there and like dodging bullets and stuff, dude. That would have been a great scene. I don't know. Yeah, I think we gotta write to the Mr. John Lee Hancock about this, and for his next movie, for new and improved version of Little Things starring Jackie Chan. So, what do you think of the performances, though? Like, maybe not the story and plot as much, but just their acting in it.
I don't think anyone did a great job except for Jared Leto, and I don't even. So I know a lot of people have problems with Jared Leto, but I actually always really liked him until I watched The Outsider, which was like, I think it's worse than Suicide Squad.
I didn't watch Outsider because you said it was so.
Yeah, but I thought he was actually really good in this. Denzel Washington, I feel like it was a waste of talent. Like, his character was fine, but like I said, he doesn't really do anything. Rami Malek, I feel like any halfway decent actor could have played that role and done equally as good as him.
Yeah, he just kind of made the same like kind of crazy eyes the whole movie. I felt like, I mean, I think that's just how his eyes look, but he just looked a little like he was going to snap all the time, which I think they were trying to go for, but it was a little like too much. Like, he didn't really have any range.
I didn't feel it. Yeah, I didn't feel it. I just felt like that's how he is, because he was like that at the beginning of the movie too.
Yeah, so exactly.
I feel like I didn't feel, because he was supposed to like go through a chain where he like descended into madness, but I just never felt it.
Yeah, even when he punched the window and stuff, it was like, I don't know.
I felt like Denzel Washington was like half asleep the whole movie. Like, the only time he showed any energy was when he was like punching the wall, but then that scene was so cliche too. I just was kind of silly. Like, he just grabbed his wiener and was punching the wall. Like, it was funny, not serious. And that's like the only time Denzel showed any energy in the movie.
Yeah, he's an old man though. He's gonna go the Bruce Willis route probably, where like I can't be in a scene where I'm like moving faster than a walking's pace or something. He's gonna go that route now. He's getting to that age where he's just gonna be typecasted and like just used as the face for the cover. I mean, that's movies.
That's fine though if it fits the role, but I feel like it didn't fit this one.
Well, did you watch Fences? I didn't watch Fences.
No, I didn't watch Fences. I'm sure he's good. I'm sure he's good in that, because I'm pretty sure that's like a Broadway play.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I mean, he has potential, but I don't think
it's not even like the movement thing where he's like old and slow, because he's just really good at talking and facial expressions. Like, that's, I feel like, his strongest point. But
yeah,
it's just, like I said, it just felt like a waste. You just don't care. You just don't care. I just don't care.
Yeah, I feel like
I don't care. I hate these old men. Just go learn how to use a copy machine.
I know. I did like that took place in the 1990s though.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things I liked most about it, was like the 90s aesthetic of it. Mm-hmm. It felt like a low budget Quentin Tarantino movie.
They all had their beepers. They all just had to beep each other.
And they were using cell phones. Using payphones and stuff. So another problem I had with this is that I feel like it did a lot of like tell, don't show, where Denzel Washington would just like talk about previous cases. Like, they were on the bridge and he talked about, oh, the lights went off that day, and like that lady was out having sex, so they didn't have a witness. And it was just like, I feel like it would have been cooler if they just like digitally de-aged Denzel, because that's like the hottest trend, and just like showed a flashback of him telling the story or something. Just anything to make the movie more interesting.
Yeah, that part, I really didn't like that part too, because like he like pointed to like, oh, that lady in the window, she saw something, and like walks them through it. But like, I didn't care. Like, they didn't need it. Like, all that was important was that he shot the girl. Like, but I think that just the subtle flashbacks to the crime scene, him hearing the noise, and then like the big reveal when he actually was the one that shot the girl. I think that would have been plenty. You didn't really need to know more of the details to that case.
Well, it just felt so anticlimactic, because you can tell it's building up to something. You can tell the whole movie is building up to some big reveal. Like I honestly thought it was going to be something really stupid, like Denzel, like was killing the girls the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just felt like it fell flat where you just get the flashback where he shoots the girl.
Well,
Like
that goes back to it trying to be.
It was just underwhelming.
Yeah, well, it goes back to it was actually a character study movie, but it was using the very stereotypical investigative like cop dynamic. So it doesn't do either that well. So it kind of falls flat. So it's like trying to be a character study, but it's playing into all these cliches that aren't real life characters. So it's like
Like this is gonna sound really sad, but I feel like it would have been better if like Nicolas Cage played Denzel Washington's character. And I hate Nicolas Cage, but I feel like he would have done a better job because at least then there would be some emotions.
Yeah, and I think what's most frustrating about this movie is that the idea of it was good. Like it was almost a good idea. Like I like the whole thing of like the ending especially where it's like, oh, Malek gets pushed to the edge and ends up killing the guy, so that kind of ruins the case.
Yeah.
And I like that Denzel sent the hair clip to like try to give closure.
Yeah,
closure
I liked
character.
that part. I like
that twist ending was really good. I think that was unique. And then even like the symbolism of him digging all the holes constantly. I thought that scene worked really well because he's digging the holes, constantly looking for the body because he wants to know the truth. And he's just digging. So that's like metaphorically and show like literally he's digging. So I like that part of it. But just how they handle it, then with like Denzel just burning all this stuff like immediately, it's like
I feel like
know.
The whole thing with Denzel Washington's character didn't need to be in the movie. I feel like if it was just Rami Malek and it just focused more on him and his descent, it would have been a better movie instead of trying to focus so much on him and Denzel. Because I felt like the Denzel part really fell flat, and if they spent more time with Rami Malek, then it would have had a stronger payoff.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like for character study, it's really just focusing more on the ideas of everything.
Yeah.
It's like how digging deeper and like being forced in a hard situation just ruins these cops' lives basically. But I mean, it draws parallels between the two of them, and even to like making them killers. So drawing parallels to the killer as well. It does that okay, but as characters on their own, it doesn't really work still.
Yeah.
They don't really develop either one of them that well.
I wish they just got rid of Denzel Washington, and then there was the one lady cop. I think the actress is Natalie Morales. I've seen her in a bunch of stuff. I can't think of anything right now, but I feel like it could have just been them two, where Natalie's character just kind of supports Rami, and then it just focuses only on him.
Yeah,
it would have been like the same movie but better because Denzel stuff just fell so flat to me, and it's just sad because I love Denzel so much.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of some other really good Denzel movies. I mean, Man on Fire was great.
I mean, Training Day is the one that everyone knows.
Yeah, Training Day is really good. Equalizer, I didn't really care for though.
Well, that one, yeah, that's like a cash grab. But I mean, even like Book of Eli, even though like the movie wasn't that great, he was really good in it.
Oh, that movie was silly. How he was.
Yeah, like
he was the blind guy.
Yeah.
And at the end, he was just blind the whole time using like the power.
But he was still good in it. Oh, and my other one, I just remember my personal favorite, Fallen.
Oh yeah, Fallen was really good.
Yeah,
that is like the perfect like kind of crime investigation descent movie. That one's really good. That does the ending of that's done much better and more poetic than
yeah, well, that's like an amazing movie.
Yeah, that one's really good. Ooh. Yeah, I also think that just the ending, what they were trying to do, they didn't do a good job of like showing everything. Like,
yeah, well, I think
at the end with the box, like you know how he goes into the apartment, he finds the hidden box with all the evidence in it, or like the little clippings and stuff. I think, and then so he finds it, but he has to leave it when he is like forced to leave the apartment abruptly. But then at the end, he gets the box, so it's like building up to it. It's like, oh, the box is going to be that red beret that they're looking for. And then when he opens it at the end, it shows that it's empty, I think. But it's like, oh, so it's empty now. So that means Jared Leto obviously cleaned that out before they had a chance to look at it and get all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
I didn't even get that too, because I wasn't sure, like, did Jared Leto clean it up or did Denzel Washington just already burn everything in the box? Like, I didn't even
That's exactly what I mean. I think it would have been, I'm pretty sure they were going for, it wasn't actually in there. So Denzel's disappointed. So that's why he had to find the red beret and or buy it and then send it to Malek's character. But yeah, to your point, they didn't handle it well. Like for storytelling, it wasn't clear. They left that ambiguous, but I don't think it was purposely meant to be ambiguous. I think it was just kind of bad filmmaking.
Yeah.
So it wasn't clear.
Well, that's the thing too. I feel like you have to work with what you have. So I think this would have made a good miniseries where you could focus on each of the characters a little bit more. But as like a 2-hour movie, there just wasn't enough time to develop all of these things. So they needed to focus on either Denzel Washington or Rami Malek and develop those ideas more and focus less on the other one.
Yeah. I think that would have added to this movie, made it better.
Yeah.
And I think also it seemed like they were trying really hard to be similar to like season 3 of True Detective, like you meant or you mentioned earlier. But yeah, they just needed more time. But even the ending, like I don't know, like True Detective season 3, it's a little bit more hopeful. Like it ends on him getting some closure and actually figuring out what the truth was. So even though he's not exactly sure and it's not as clear as black and white, you still get that kind of enough as a viewer to put it all together. It feels conclusive.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, but it's not. Like you still go through all the pain and the terribleness. So it's not like you just forget about the horrible stuff that happened. But this, even as a viewer, like I think they still could have done both. They still could have had that feeling of ambiguity, as well as the characters not actually solving the case and handling it.
Well, that's the thing too. Like I feel like you need some sense of conclusion as a viewer, and the conclusion doesn't have to be like they solved the murder, but the conclusion needs to be like, oh, does Denzel Washington feel better now, or does he feel worse now? Does Rami Malek, does he like continue being a detective and like feels good now that he has the red beret, or does he feel worse? Like you don't know these things.
Yeah, and it's like I almost wonder. It's like trying to be ambiguous, but with that, it's also like that kind of covers up the lazy writing too.
Yeah. Well, it's like if you want to, because I feel like this one is clearly focusing on the characters. So I feel like the characters need to have some conclusion, not necessarily the plot of the murder needs to have a conclusion.
Yeah, and that's the biggest problem too. Is back to what I said earlier, the name of the movie, The Little Things, which has a double meaning. But you're watching this to put all the clues and pieces together as a viewer, but it's actually trying to be more of a character study.
Yeah.
But since it's trying to do both, it doesn't really pay off in either element, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it tries to do like the pull the rug out of you, like it does at the end of 7, but it's like it tries to do that in both ways, but. And same thing. I feel like it's the problem. It's trying to do two things the entire movie. Like they're trying to focus on Denzel and they're trying to focus on Malek. They're trying to focus on finding the clues while also being a character study. They're trying to be serious, but it's also playing into cliches as well. So it's like it didn't really come together as well as the director wanted. Maybe on paper it sounded good, but in execution not as much.
I feel like they needed like a really technical, like you mentioned, like David Lynch. I feel like this would have been a really good like Fincher movie. Like I feel like if he did that, this would have been like really good. But
yeah, David Lynch would have been great. Fincher would have been perfect for it. But they need one of those directors who's just super on point in all these details.
Yeah, not fucking Saving Mr. Banks director.
Yeah, The Blind Side. Saving Mr. Banks. Did you actually see Saving Mr. Banks?
No.
Let me pull up the description of Saving Mr. Banks.
Author P.L. Travers reflects on her childhood after reluctantly meeting with Walt Disney, who adapts her Mary Poppins book for the big screen.
Ooh, that sounds like a good one. I mean, it's got Tom Hanks. Ooh, and it looks like it's a Disney-produced movie.
Ooh, wow. It looks like Jason Schwartzman has an appearance in it, and I was like,
ooh, it could be good then. Is this a made-for-TV movie? Like all these plots, they just seem like they're made for TV movies. What about The Highwaymen?
I don't know. That's one of those ones that I wanted to watch because it has Woody Harrelson in it, but I think it's just one of those ones where I was like, oh, this is a Netflix exclusive and it looks so generic. I know it's going to be bad.
Oh, the untold true story of legendary detectives who brought down Bonnie and Clyde.
I mean, it's not like we haven't seen like 100 movies about Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, I don't know what else they can say about it. But speaking of Woody Harrelson, that's another movie that had a ambiguous ending. Was 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. It was handled so much better.
Yeah, because that one's also about the characters.
Yeah, exactly. And spoilers if you haven't seen 3 Billboards, because that's a great movie. But at the end of the movie in 3 Billboards, they go out to they're like, oh, we don't know if this guy's the killer or not, but he definitely did something bad, so let's go find him. And then they go off to get the guy. And
but you don't know you don't know if they actually do it or not because they weren't sure either.
Exactly, but
yeah,
like in their mind, it's like they're gonna go try to get him. It's implied,
they're gonna
so
do
who knows?
something. They're gonna do something. You don't know what. They don't know what.
Yeah, and I feel like they're trying to do that with Jared Leto too, because it's like he's not necessarily the killer, but he could be a killer. And then they draw
he's
parallels.
Definitely not a good guy.
He's definitely not guilty, or definitely not innocent. Like there's definitely some shady stuff he's doing. Like he spends so much time at the strip club, but it's one of those things where it's not handled that well. They don't really make it clear to you that he did something wrong or not. And that's same with like the main two guys. Like you're supposed to draw parallels between Denzel and Malek because they're the ones who are actually murderers that we know for sure are.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it doesn't work as well. And
So
it's like they're not the killer, but they're a killer. So are they the bad guys then?
Yeah. So if you were a detective and you had Jared Leto's character, would you inject him with the Wuhan flu or chop him up like the Saudis do?
Well, I definitely wouldn't let him drive me out to the middle of a desert and then make me dig a bunch of holes. Yeah,
and they should have just pulled in Shia LaBeouf at the end there if they wanted to dig those holes.
I know that's what I was saying. Like, what if they found like a yellow spotted lizard or something that like,
they were not prepared for that?
Yeah, like they got trapped in the hole. Like you know how at the end like all the yellow spotted lizards are on Shia LaBeouf and he can't move and like oh my god, what are you gonna do? Imagine if there was yellow spotted lizards and then Malek and Jared Leto were both stuck in the hole together, and then they were forced to bond because they're both gonna die. So then that's a whole nother 30 minutes of the movie, just them in a hole being friends and hanging out.
And then they dig a little bit deeper and find some sploosh.
And then it'd be really good. So then Denzel shows up, and then when he gets there, that the lizards like freak out and go crazy. So he has to summon his robots and then boom, bring in guest director Michael Bay to rescue Leto and Malek from the lizards. And then that could have been the reveal when they're stuck in the hole talking about like bonding. Leto's like, oh, I'm about to die. You know, the truth is I did murder that girl. What are you gonna do? You know, I'm sorry.
I was going to say Rami Malek would have to carry Denzel Washington to the top of the mountain to break the curse of his dirty, filthy, pig-stealing great-great-great-grandpa.
Oh, that would have been really good. God, that would have been a great ending. Anything to...
I mean, that's not saying much, though. I think anything would have been better than that, the ending that we got.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't hate the movie as much as you did, but it definitely could have been a lot better.
Okay, how about this? So Jared Leto is not dead, and he just has a scar on his mouth, and it's a prequel to Suicide Squad.
Oh, yes, I would like that. Prequel to Suicide Squad. So that's why he hates cops so much, because Denzel and Malek were handling the case so poorly. Mm-hmm. They just made him hate cops forever. He wasn't a killer, but the system made him bad. Yeah. Now he's the Joker.
Yeah. And then I was kind of imagining in my own version of the movie that the reason why Denzel Washington had to leave LA is because of what happened in Training Day, and he just didn't die at the end. He just got emergency surgery.
Yeah,
had to go to Kern County.
And that's why he's kind of infamous, because everyone knows, like, oh god, like he's kind of a shady, questionable dude who does. Yeah, he's involved with gangs and stuff. It's like, oh god damn it, I just want to steer clear of him because he actually is a bad guy. Yeah, I think it would have been good if they, like, to your point, like if they had Nicolas Cage playing him or someone who's just a more like clearly corrupt cop. Mm-hmm. I feel like that would have been a really good parallel. It's like Malek's kind of the good straight cop. Denzel's the really bad kind of cop who takes things way too far and
that's what
digging in. That would have been a really good dynamic. They could have actually brought them together and kind of came to that tipping point. Like in
I feel like if Denzel Washington played the Training Day character, it would have been so much better, because like in this one you can tell like he's really like broken, mm-hmm. but like it's just so like flat.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he was trying to play kind of more like a shy, like he knows his life is like for us to take pity on him. So he's just kind of ashamed of what he did in the past. But that just kind of made for also like a boring character. Like I think they could have done that, but also made him maybe like be like a cool guy, kind of sly cop, or maybe built up his like the cliche drinking problem that cops have. Mm-hmm. You know?
Well, that's why I feel like they should have just focused more on Rami Malek and then had his character be more of a side character instead of trying to focus on both of them. Yeah.
Or it would have been good if they just focused more on them going crazy, because there's definitely elements of that. It's like Denzel was crazy in the hotel room. It would have been good to see him hallucinating more and really losing control, which I guess they kind of did. But I don't know, just his normal day-to-day, I feel like they didn't work that in. It's like they had those few scenes of him doing crazy stuff, but and there was just pretty grounded and level-headed.
There was
in
so
the
much
rest
of
of the
them
movie.
doing stakeouts. There was just so much, and that didn't add anything. Just stakeout, stakeout. It didn't have like them developing their friendship. It didn't have them like developing their madness. It was just Snoresville.
Yeah, and another really big miss, I think, as well, was in the driving scene again when Malik gets in the car with Jared Leto and he's like, "Oh, I'll take you to the bodies." So they're driving, and then he's just silent.
Yeah.
And so it's like that would have been a perfect opportunity for them to kind of like go back and forth, have some kind of witty, clever dynamic of like fishing, maybe Leto playing into like, oh, maybe I did this, maybe this happened, and kind of revealing more details about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then he doesn't. And then it's like, okay, if they're not going to have them interact, have Leto have some dialogue or have like a monologue. But even that's not that good. It's just him kind of like, oh, you remind me of this other random guy that I talked to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, Jared
like,
Leto would love to have like a monologue because he's so full of himself. So may as well just give
Mhm.
it to him instead of just nothing.
Yeah, or even like in True Detective, they do that all the time. It's them
Mhm.
driving, but then you have like Matthew McConaughey going on his weird tangents and like
Yeah.
hallucinating like visions in the sky and stuff, or
Mhm.
giving his philosophy, which is really good. That would have been the perfect time for Leto to just go full, like talk about his beliefs and philosophy. And it could have been
Yeah.
kept ambiguous, like maybe he has a really dark outlook on life, which he does. But that would have been a great time to develop his character even further
Mhm.
instead of just kind of keeping him as, oh, he's just a creepy looking guy, so that's maybe why he's a killer. It's like, well, it would have been good to know that deeper philosophical point. That's why
Yeah.
True Detective was so good, but they didn't
Mhm.
attempt to do that
Yeah.
philosophy at all in this movie.
And another, now that we're talking about it, another scene that really bothered me was after Denzel Washington like sneaks into his apartment, Jared Leto finds out about it. Like immediately the next day, Denzel and Rami are just staking him out again. Like, do they really think immediately the next day he's gonna go murder someone? Like, it just seemed like
Yeah.
a waste of time. And that was
Oh,
another like long ass scene.
and that was really funny. Like, it makes sense because they have no other options, I guess. But then Malik gets so mad because he's like, "Oh, he didn't do anything. He just took the bus
Yeah.
to the strip club." Then he like slaps the window or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah.
of course he's not going to do anything. He knows you're watching him. Why
Yeah.
would he? Like that's
Yeah.
like what?
Like they're not sneaky about it at all. Like they don't change the car or anything. Like
And they're following really close. That's why I'm pretty sure this was just a comedy. Like I'm pretty sure it was just meant to be funny. It's just
well,
none of the jokes landed. It was like they're supposed to be incompetent cops. Like in what's that one with Will Ferrell and
the other guys,
Mark Wahlberg? Yeah, the other guys. They're just comedically bad cops that are just so unself-aware that they're bad cops.
Another one that was so funny was when Denzel was first following Jared Leto on the freeway, and then Jared Leto like pulls over, and then like Denzel Washington like reverses, and then Jared Leto's somehow on the other side of the freeway. Yeah. So he goes around, and then Jared Leto's back on the first side of the
that
freeway.
Was really funny. He wasn't even building tension at all. It's just kind of like a silly thing, and then he pulls up next to him.
Yeah. And then he says some stupid line too.
Yeah. But... Well, he says the same thing. It's like, oh, how's the trunk space? Which is what Denzel said earlier. So like he's kind of throwing back what Denzel said earlier. But yeah, it's kind of funny. And then by him saying it again, it makes it stupid. It's like he is mocking the cops, but it's almost like he's mocking the movie too. Yeah. So it's like, whoopsie doodle. Yeah. I don't know. When I first watched it, I was pretty engaged with it, but I was left with that like feeling of wanting more closure. So I dug deeper into it and was looking for the little things, kind of like if you're watching like a David Lynch movie like Twin Peaks, you're trying to piece all those little things together. But then as I was trying to piece the things together, I'm like, oh, that wasn't the point of this movie. The director didn't want you to do that. So yeah. Like, oh, well, that wasn't the intent. Then it's like,
I feel like
I was doing that out of bad writing because they didn't sum things up well enough.
It started off really good, like a normal crime one. Like I liked when they were trying to figure things out, like they were at like the apartment and like Denzel Washington noticed like the viewing place across the street and was doing things. That was like the best part of the movie because it was just like a normal crime movie.
Yeah.
Then after that, they didn't really do any investigating. It was just them digging around.
Oh yeah, well, I think there was either one review or the director talking about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this movie, I wanted to make a crime movie because I loved all those like cop investigation crime movies from the '80s." But he's like, "Oh, it always seemed to follow a very typical formula where it's like they're investigating, they think they know the killer, and there's a big action or chase scene usually with a very like specific type of like backdrop where they're like fighting and do like the big cliche standoff at the end." So he's like, I wanted to have that same formula, but then change up the last act. So I didn't want to have a big action finish where everything's tied up all neatly. And it's like, okay, I kind of get that, but I don't think he handled it as good as he could have.
Well, it's like another thing too, because that's pretty much exactly what Quentin Tarantino did for Reservoir Dogs. He just wanted to write a robbery movie. But he did it really well because he just focused on his strength, which is just like dialogue and the character dynamic. This one didn't have good dialogue and it didn't have good dynamic, and I feel like those are the things you need in this type of movie.
Yeah, I almost wonder if the ending was something completely different initially when he wrote it, and then they kind of had to like switch it up like in the editing room, because there was just so many little things that didn't make any sense or why they were in it.
What the production company was?
I think it was Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers.
Let's see.
I feel like Warner Brothers isn't the worst at like limiting directors' freedom, but they're not the best either.
Yeah. Where do you even find producers?
Yeah, I'm looking at IMDb, but I didn't see anything.
I'm pretty sure I saw the Warner Brothers logo.
Well, if we're wrong, you can just edit this out.
I probably won't. Yeah, you know who I wish did direct it, or who did produce it, that does kind of good movies in this more gritty kind of B style, was like Lionsgate, like all the Saw movies and stuff.
Yeah,
I think if Lionsgate did this, they would have just let the director get a little bit more crazy.
Just fuck it. Just give it to Jason Blum and let Jared Leto just go crazy.
Yes. You know what's kind of sad about the Blumhouse Jared Blum man
is that we're never going to get someone who makes better horror movies than him.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, like what is like those 30 or 40 Amazon movies that are like.
Oh, I only watched Netflix. One of them, but it was pretty hilarious.
What was the name of that one? It was like
Pilgrim is the one.
Yeah, the Pilgrims. Oh yeah, watch The Pilgrims by Jason Blum, a nice low budget horror movie.
Not to be confused with The Pilgrims about Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, the Tim and Eric bit. Not Pilgrims, Pilgrims.
Directed by Greg Tennis.
Greg Tennis. Oh god. Yeah, but of all of the Blum movies, I enjoyed Freaky the most, and that's just not. I wouldn't say that's a great horror movie. It's just a silly horror movie.
Yeah.
But it's got Vince Vaughn in it.
Okay, so would you recommend The Little Things?
I've initially going into making this podcast, I thought yes. I was like, oh, I could recommend this movie to people who kind of like True Detective, but I'm like, it's not very good. So it's like it doesn't handle the things well. Like there's other movies that do it better. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe I could like recommend it to people who just like to kind of just like the very typical crime mystery, like that really cliche mystery type movie. But then the ending's so ambiguous and kind of leaves, like if you're like that kind of, if you don't want the kind of like expectations being subverted, you want things tied up neatly, like in most crime scene movies. I feel like you'd also be disappointed with this. So it's like the people who are more critical of films wouldn't like it, and the people who want to like just watch kind of fun, relaxing, or like an interesting crime mystery also wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel, because I watched it with my fiance, and then at the end she was like, nothing happened for like the whole second half, and I was like, yeah.
And then there's viewers like you who watch it because the cast is great, Denzel's really good, so I want to see Denzel being a cool cop guy, and then he's not that great in it either compared to his other performances, and it's like, okay then.
Like I said, like, if Jared Leto's showing up Rami Malek and Denzel Washington, you did something wrong from a directing point of view.
Yeah, I think that's what's so disappointing is like the idea of it was really good. I think it had so much potential. All the right pieces were there. It just did not come together as nicely as it could have. But I mean, I think I liked it more than The Blind Side. I did not watch Saving Mr. Banks. Yeah. Again, I'm gonna have to go. If you're gonna make a movie with the big climax at the end, is someone digging a hole, you got to get Shia LaBeouf. If you're gonna dig holes, you have Shia LaBeouf dig the holes.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. Anything else you want to say?
That's all I have to say. Till next week.
All right. If you enjoyed watching this movie discussion, please give us a like and subscribe. We appreciate it. Until next week.